Better Life Media, America's leading source for life improvement, presents Les Brown. Step into your greatness.
Thank you. Hello, how are you? How many of you have some major goals you'd like to achieve? Raise your hands, please. Very good. I know you do. That's why you showed up. I like to ask people whether or not they have goals that they'd like to achieve, and hopefully they're goals that really are worthy of your efforts and your talents. I want you to shake someone's hand right now on your right and left, look them in the eyes and say, you have something special. I like to ask whether or not you have goals, but I want to ask you another question. How many of you know that if you had your life to live over again, you could do more than what you've done thus far? Raise your hands, please. Now, that proves the point that what we do and what we accomplish in life is only a tip of the iceberg of what's possible for us. So I want you to think about some goals that you'd like to achieve, and I'd like for you to, let's say, break them up in three categories. Number one, I want you to think about some personal goal you'd like to achieve. And I'd like for you to think about some career goal, some business goal that you'd like to achieve. And I want you to think about some social contribution, some impact you'd like to make with your life. It was Horace Mann who said, we should be ashamed to die until we've made some major contribution to humankind. I believe we live in the greatest country in the world that gives us an opportunity to leave our mark, to make a statement with our lives. And as you think about these goals, whatever those goals are, I want you to dramatically increase those goals. And I want to warn you, I don't want you to think about how you're going to do it. How is none of your business. The most important thing is just to increase those goals dramatically. I've found that most people fail in life, not because they aim too high and miss. Most people fail in life because they aim too low and hit. And many don't aim at all. So raise the bar on yourself and don't ask how you're going to do it. I'll never forget when I decided that I wanted to become a motivational speaker. I saw the late Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, and my heart said, I can do that. But my mind asked the question, how? And for over 14 years, I would go see Zig Ziglar and Dr. Norman Vincent Peale and Jim Rohn and different speakers, and I would be in the audience, and my heart would pounce and say, you can do that, Les. And then when I would leave, I would be going to the parking lot, and my mind said, how are you going to do it? And I spent so many years trying to figure out how. I wasted 14 years. How many of you ever procrastinated? Raise your hands, please. Yeah, see, so as you begin to think about your goals, the most important thing is, and write this down, commit yourself. See, once you commit yourself, the how will come, the way will come. Once you commit yourself, you will then figure it out. And if you're going in the wrong direction, all you have to do is turn around and go in the other direction. You will figure it out. You want to begin to just challenge yourself. You want to stretch yourself because you really don't know what you can't do. I'll never forget the first day that I met Mr. Washington. I was born in a poor section of Miami, Florida called Liberty City. I was born in an abandoned building on a floor with a twin brother. And when we were 6 weeks of age, we were adopted. And when I was in the 5th grade, I was identified as EMR, labeled educable, mentally retarded, put back from the 5th grade into the 4th grade. And I failed again when I was in the 8th grade. I don't have any college education, but because of my mother, and I feel like Abraham Lincoln, who said, all that I am and all that I ever hope to be, I owe to my mother. I saw a sign once that said that God took me from my biological mother's womb and placed me in the heart of my adopted mother. So my first major goal was to buy my mother a home, to take care of my mother. And I did that, took care of her until she passed at 88. But I'll never forget when I met Mr. Washington. I was in a class waiting on another student, and he came in and he said, young man, go to the board and work this problem out for us. I said, oh, sir, I can't do that. He said, why? I said, I'm not one of your students. He said, look at me. I said, yes, sir. Go to the board and work the problem out anyhow. I said, sir, I can't do what you're asking me to do. He said, why? Sir, because I'm educable, mentally retarded, sir. And as the students erupted in laughter, he came from behind his desk, he looked at me and he said, don't you ever say that again. Someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. And that was a turning point in my life. On one hand, I was humiliated. But on the other hand, I was liberated. Because he looked at me with the eyes of Goethe, who said, look at a man the way that he is. He only becomes worse. But look at him as if he were what he could be. Then he becomes what he should be. And so Mr. Washington, he challenged me. And I want to challenge you right now about raising your goals. And I want you to shake someone's hand on your right and left, look them in the eyes and say, stretch yourself. Yeah, see, I think that you really have to stretch yourself to discover your stuff. I think that we have to really begin to experiment with life. When I said that you have something special, I didn't say that just to be kind and courteous. You do. See, I think that there are not many people that come to seminars or workshops or will watch a program of this nature. Why? I just think that most people are just satisfied to where they are. I'm reminded of a man one day. He was walking down the street and he passed his porch where some people were on the porch talking, and there was a dog moaning and groaning. And he was curious why the dog was moaning and groaning. And he went back and he said, excuse me, he asked the owner, why is the dog moaning and groaning? Guy said, because he's laying on a nail. He said, well, why won't he get off? He said, it's not hurting bad enough for him to get off. Just hurting bad enough to moan and groan. How many of you know people who should be here? Raise your hands, please. How many of you know people all they do is moan and groan? Moan and groan. I'm not making enough money. Moan and groan. I'm unhappy with my job. 87% of people go to jobs that they hate. And in addition to that, you know, as we know that we have the dubious distinction in this country that on Monday morning the heart attack rate increases over 35%. On Monday morning between 6 o'clock and 9, people going to jobs that they hate. The heart said, didn't I tell you I didn't want to go? And attack them. Some of you don't want to go to work next Monday. So the thing is this. So you want to find out what resonates with you. What is it you really want to do? You want to experiment with life and find out what fits for you. You have something special. You have greatness within you. You have the ability to do more than you can ever begin to imagine. See, I believe that anybody through observation and practice can perform at the level of excellence. But when you're pursuing your greatness, and this is worth writing down, you don't know what your limits are, and you act like you don't have any. So I say to you, you have something special. You have greatness within you. And I want to make 4 things clear. Number 1, everything that I'm going to say, you already know it. If what I share, the message that I'm going to express right now and share with you, if it wasn't a part of who you are already, you wouldn't be in the audience. That's number 1. That's very important. It's already in you. I'm going to only confirm and validate that which is a part of you anyhow. The second thing is, everything I'm going to say to you, you've heard it before. From people with college degrees and credentials, I can't hold a candle to. It's common sense, but not common practice. Third thing is, I don't want you to agree with me, and I don't want you to believe me. I just want you to be open to some things right now. I want you to think beyond that which is commonly allowed. And I'm going to tell you what I'm up to. I want you to think about your goals, and I want to tell you what I'm going to do right now. My whole goal is to get past your mind. That's my whole challenge, and there's nothing you can do about it. I'm going to do that. See, your assignment was to show up. My assignment is to get past your mind and get into your heart. Once you think about the goals that you want to achieve, and I really want to challenge you to make up your mind that you're going to make that happen for yourself. And I hope that it's some goal that really resonates with who you are. When I was a little boy, my goal was to just buy groceries for our family. My mother worked on Miami Beach. She was a domestic worker. And my goal was to really be able to go to the grocery store and purchase groceries ourselves. The families knew that my mother had adopted 7 children. And so they said, Mamie, whatever food is left over after we eat, you can take that home to the children. They were very kind, very, very considerate people. My mother, who when she worked on Miami Beach, the people were very kind. I was appreciative of their generosity. But as a little boy, I said, Mama, one day, when I become a big boy, I'm going to be able to buy groceries for us. My goal as a little boy was to buy clothes for my brothers and sisters. We wore the hand-me-down clothes of the children that Mama babysat for when she went over in Miami Beach. And if the clothes were too small, she would let them out. And if they were too large, Mama could sew and take them up. And I'll never forget David Sidursky. His father was very wealthy. Mama worked for him, but David was my buddy. And so his father gave him 2 gifts for his birthday. Gave him a brand new boat, but he also gave him some motivational tapes. Earl Nightingale, I'll never forget. So he said, David, man, let me tell you something. When I die, you're going to get everything. I want you to listen to these tapes. And when his father left the room, David threw those tapes in the wastebasket. I said, David, could I have those tapes? He said, yes. I said, man, your father said, if you listen to these, you can get more and do more than what he's done. He said, hey, look, I'm going to get everything anyhow. Go ahead, take them. I told my children, I'm not leaving them anything. You know, if I had a quarter and thought I was going to die, I'll swallow it. Write this down. It's not what you leave for your children, it's what you leave in them. Not what you leave for them, what you leave in them. No, absolutely not. I'll tell you something else happened. I'll never forget. Mama came home one day and said, Leslie, David sent you a new pair of shoes his father got for him. I said, oh, Mama, thank you so much. I can't wear David's shoes. I said, why? Well, you tell my buddy that, I wear size 9.5. He wears size 9. She said, boy, shut up, sit down, and put those shoes on. She said, Marvin Ann, go get some Vaseline. And she came in there, and my sister started rubbing the Vaseline on my feet. And she said, run some water in the bathtub. And she said, now go in there and put your feet in those shoes and don't mash the heel down. I said, Mama, shut up, boy, don't mash the heel down. And then she had me to get in the bathtub. I said, Mama, these shoes hurt. She said, get in there and walk around in the water. And I'm walking around the bathtub. Then she tried to distract me. I knew what she was doing. How'd you do at school today? I did good. Did you get in any fights? No, ma'am. You know you fought somebody. Well, I only hit 3 people today. and then after a while, she said, how you doing? I said, well, they hurt. Do they hurt as bad as they were before? No, ma'am, they feel a little bit better. Keep on walking, keep on walking. And then after a while, when the leather soaked up the water, the leather began to stretch to a perfect 9.5. You think Fortune 500 companies started talking about doing more with less? My mother been doing that for a long time. It's amazing what you can do. But who would have thought, anybody looking in on this kid and these 7 children, who would have thought? And I look at you, I say, you have greatness within you. You have the ability to do more than you can ever begin to imagine. No one could have convinced me that I would be doing what I'm doing right now. You know, the easiest thing I do every year is go into a sales organization and dramatically increase their sales, or go into a prison and enable prisoners to see themselves differently and teach them the methods and techniques of how to plug into the system, or motivate young people to begin to see how they can have a vision of themselves in the future and fit. That's the easiest thing I do, or train a speaker to help them to leverage their experience as a speaker and say, look, speaking is a projection of who you are, not who you think you ought to be, and come with power from a platform. That's the easiest thing I've ever done. Let me share with you the most difficult thing I've ever done. The most difficult thing I've ever done was to believe that I can do what I'm now doing. No one could have convinced me, just given my circumstances. I earn millions of dollars every year. No one could have convinced me. If both my parents came up here right now, I would not know either one. No one could have convinced me, being labeled educable, mental retarded, born in an abandoned building on the floor in Liberty City, poor section of Miami, Florida, failing twice in school, no college training, never worked for a major corporation. I did not know I can do what I'm doing right now. I'll never forget Mike Williams, my mentor. I think a lot of people fail in life because of the fact that they need some mentoring. They need some coaching. Repeat out to me, please. You need some coaching. Yeah, see, you can't see the picture when you're in the frame. I remember Mike saying, Les, you can do this. Mike, how, man? Wait a minute, Mike. How much am I going to be able to charge, Mike? Less, you could start out at $1,000 an hour. Mike, I don't make that working for 2 weeks. Come on, Mike. Man, I appreciate your belief in me, Mike. Look, Mike, I work for the Miami Sanitation Department, man. I've been a garbage collector. I've done door-to-door sales. That was great, and I'm here as a disc jockey. That's good, Mike. But Mike, I don't think I can do that, Les. You can. But Mike, I don't have any credentials. I've never written any book, anything, man. I'm not rich. How can I teach somebody to do something I've never done? But Les, why don't you just test yourself? Why don't you stretch, Les? Come on, man. Mike, I don't know. And here's something I realized. Write this down. Sometimes you have to believe in somebody's belief in you until your belief kicks in. I respect Mike Williams. Here, this young man, he saw something in me that I didn't see it, and strong analytical mind, and I looked at him. I always respected his thinking, and he looked at me and he made me feel special, and I said, okay, Mike. And I just kept holding on to what Mike said to me. I just kept holding on to what Mr. Washington said to me. I kept holding on to my mother saying, you're special, Leslie, when they said you're educable, mentally retarded. Mama didn't know what that meant. She only had a third-grade education. So she said, he'll be all right, honey. A hard head make a soft behind. He'll be fine. But she said, you're special, baby. You are special. And they kept saying that over and over again. Faith comes by hearing and hearing and hearing. And so here's what I want you to do. Let us say together, as you think about your goals and your dream, let us say together, it's possible. Together, please.
It's possible.
Say it like you mean it.
It's possible.
Thank you. Write that down. See, most people never achieve their goals because most people suffer from possibility blindness. They look around trying to think about the things that they don't have. Robert Roots, young man who wrote a book about success principles of the three little pigs. He said, it's not what you don't have, it's what you think you need that keeps you from being successful or happy in life. It's not what you don't have. See, I was focused on what I didn't have. Don't have a college degree, don't have any credentials, never worked for a major corporation. I was focused on the negative things. It said, negative things are the things that you see when you're not focused on your goal. What do you come with? What is it that you have within you that you showed up to bring? Hey, Les, you don't know, but my dream is a long shot. A friend of mine, Dexter Yeager, said, when the dream is big enough, the odds don't matter. I'm reminded of a great man when I was reading Time magazine talking about some of the great minds of the last century. They didn't mention his name, Dr. Howard Thurman, one of the mentors of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and also an advisor to Mahatma Gandhi and Albert Schweitzer. And he said, the ideal situation for a man or woman to die is to have family members standing around their bed praying with them as they cross over. But imagine, if you will, being on your deathbed and standing around your bed, the dreams given to you by life, the ideas that you never acted on, the talents, the gifts, the abilities that you never used. And there they are, standing around your bed, looking at you with large, angry eyes, saying, we came to you, and only you could have given us life. And now we must die with you forever. And the question is, if you died this very moment, what will die with you? What dreams? What ideas? What talents? What leadership potential? What greatness that you showed up to bring? That you allowed fear or procrastination to hold you back? Perhaps that's why Henry David Thoreau wrote the words, oh God, to reach the point of death, only to realize that you've never lived, only to realize that you've never scraped the surface of your potential. Repeat out to me, please, with power, feeling, and conviction. I refuse to die an unlived life. Yes, shake someone's hand on your right and left and say, live your dream. Yeah, I think we should all resolve. I refuse to die an unlived life. Don't worry about the odds. You survived 1 out of 40 million sperms. You will never have those odds again. You beat those odds, you can win anything. here's something else stops most people. You know what it is? Failure. Let us say together, I will fail my way to success. Yes, write that down. I will fail my way to success. See, 8 out of 10 millionaires have been financially bankrupt. 85% of people allow their fear of failure to outweigh their desire to succeed. And I believe that the reason that most people go so far in life, and stop, Maya Angelou said it best. She wrote a poem. She said that most people go so far in life and then they park. They pull off the highway of life, especially when they get some hits, especially when they've been rejected, especially if they have an illness, especially if they lose something. They park. And I take it further. They don't even turn on their emergency lights. It's not because that they are broken down. They don't want anybody to stop and say, hey, look here, I've got some jumping cables in my trunk. You need a jump? Hey, look here, there's a service station ahead about 3 or 4 miles. I have a can. I can take you up there and get some gasoline. Oh, no, I'm just fine. I had a talk show once, and highest rated, fastest canceled talk show in the history of television. Well, at least I had one. And I was excited. You know, when the time I came into television years ago, television was based upon conflict and controversy. So I said, I want a solution-oriented talk show. First concept of that kind. High ratings. And the syndicators say, you just got lucky. Come on, let's do these other type of shows. You can be a Jerry Springer. Oh, no, that's not why I came here. No, I believe that we live in the greatest country in the world where we should hold ourselves to certain standards. I'm not going to come here and sell out on who I am. I'm not going to compromise. I'm not going to lower my standards for you. No, that's not why I showed up. And so they fired me. Security walked him out. I said, I can walk by myself. But let me tell you what happened. I took a hit, and I parked. It wasn't that I didn't have the ability to do more. My concept was good. But what happened when I took the hit, when they canceled the show, I canceled myself. When they said the show is going to be taken off television, it won't work, I told myself, Les, you can't succeed in television. And I parked. You know what I did? I went back to my comfort zone. As a motivational speaker, at least I'm doing better than most people. That's nothing to compare yourself to worse that other people are doing and then make yourself feel better. No, I parked. I didn't have my emergency lights on. I didn't want to show up on the radar. I parked. You know how long I parked? I parked for 10 years. Do you hear me? Now, unlike Regis Philbin, when his shows were canceled, he kept going. He kept going. He kept going. And he got other shows. I bet you somebody gave him a push. Somebody said, hey, you need a lift. I didn't even make that an option for me. I got off the highway, I went back to my comfort zone, and I parked. The show failed, and I identified myself as a failure. And guess something happened. One day, just flipping the channels, looking at PBS, and saw Wayne Dyer, my friend Wayne Dyer. And boy, I said, wait, we're both in our 60s. Wayne is still doing it. Wow, the little hair he has, it's gray, he's still there. I said, hey, I've got some more stuff in me. I've got another PBS special in me. I've got some other ideas. You know, Oprah and Phil, they're doing my stuff. Maybe I need to come back out here. And I went back and started calling PBS and different people. They said, Les, what happened to you? I said, well, I didn't know whether or not anybody would be interested in me because the show was canceled. No, you had some good ideas. And when they said, yeah, we would love to do a show with you, I said, you would? They said, yes. And when I went into the studio, and people that worked with 10 years ago, they were still there. And I said, guys, you know, do you guys still have it? They said, we have it. Do you have it? I said, I think so. You know. And I did the show, and I wasn't as good as I was 10 years ago because I was off the highway. I'd gotten off the highway of life. I'd been parked for so long, it's taking me some time to get my strength back, to find my power, to get my confidence back. But at least I'm back out there in the game, determined to dry empty. So I say to you, see, I only attract millionaires or millionaires in training. He's going to get that in a minute. You have something special. You have greatness within you. And the only reason you are here, you are my assignment. You can feel me. Some of you feel me right here in your heart of hearts. And my goal is to get past your mind and into your heart. So it's necessary that you have the mindset that I can do this. You've got to begin to believe and to fortify that belief and feed that belief by listening to tapes, going to seminars and workshops, by challenging yourself, by stretching yourself. It was Osborne who said, unless you attempt to do something beyond that which you've already mastered, you will never grow. And as you begin to challenge yourself, you'll discover some things about yourself that you don't know right now. The other thing is you begin to look at yourself, look at your dreams, and begin to experiment and stepping into your greatness. One of the things that's very important, whatever goals and dreams that you have, repeat after me, please. Make your move before you're ready. You have Price Pritchett, who's a great motivator and trainer. He said, make your move before you're ready. We're instructed in life to walk by faith and not by sight. See, you want to really begin to stretch yourself. You want to become a risk taker. You want to raise the bar on yourself. Most people won't do that. See, most people engage in low-life living, low-risk living. Viscott said, if you're not willing to risk, you cannot grow. And if you cannot grow, you cannot become your best. And if you cannot become your best, you can't be happy. And if you can't be happy, then what else is there? I like what Helen Keller said, life is short and unpredictable. Eat the dessert first. And so, you want to begin to take some chances. You want to begin to challenge yourself and make it okay to fail and learn from your failures. Don't allow fear of failure and the allure, the attractiveness of playing it safe in life to draw you in. You can't get out of life alive. You've got to die to leave here. Other thing is you look at yourself and look at your dreams. Detoxify your life. Write that down. See, I think that most people never achieve their true goals in life because they're surrounded with too many toxic, negative, energy-draining people. You've got to look at the people in your life and ask yourself the question, what is this relationship doing to me? How is it impacting my life? Am I a better person? Sidney Poitier wrote a book called The Measure of a Man. And it's powerful, but I encourage you to get the tapes. I love his voice, and he said something in there. He said, when you go for a walk with someone, something happens unconsciously. It's not spoken. Either you adjust to their pace, or they adjust to your pace. Whose pace have you adjusted to? See, you want to surround yourself. My daughter, Ona Brown, who's a speaker and coach, she says, call forth your team, but make sure these are people that you can learn from. I'll never forget, I'm on a special board with a Bishop T.D. Jakes, and we went into a board meeting. He looked at everybody before opening the meeting. He said, as soon as I know as much as you do, you're fired. And with that, the meeting is now open. Everybody continued to learn on that board. Trust me on that. A friend of mine, Dennis Kimbrough, motivational speaker out of Atlanta, he said, if you're the smartest one in your group, you need to get a new group. So as you look at yourself and look into the future, call forth your team. George Fraser says your network determines your net worth. Who do you allow to be in your ear? What kind of relationships are you developing? Are they an asset to you, or they are a liability? Do they elevate your spirits, or do they tear you down? I think there are two types of people: nourishing people and toxic people. Nourishing people, they bring the best out of you. They encourage you, they inspire you, they hold you accountable. Toxic people, they are critical people, always telling you what you can't do. They're always measuring your possibilities based upon their failures. My mother said, never let anybody tell you what you can't do, son, especially if they haven't done it. They don't know what's possible for you. So as you begin to look at yourself, begin to identify the relationships that you communicate with most and say, hey, is this relationship helpful to me? And then think about some people that you need to bring into your life that you can learn from, that you can grow from. I joined the National Speakers Association when I decided that I wanted to speak. I wanted to be around the people that were doing what I wanted to do. I'll never forget when I saw Dr. Norman Vincent Peale. He said, you have something special. You have greatness within you. And you can do more than you can ever begin to imagine. And here I am. And the audience said, oh, my goodness. I'd read The Power of Positive Thinking 17 times. My hero. And I saw him backstage, and I said, Dr. Peel, hi, my name is Les Brown. I've listened to your tapes, and I've read your books. They gave them to us in special education, sir. And one day I would love to be on stage with you. And he looked at me and said, it's possible, young man. It's possible. But this man, when he spoke, he gave me goose pimples. Deep baritone voice, spoke from his diaphragm. You have something special. You have greatness within you. He override the inner conversations in my mind. I'll never forget a gentleman, what a brilliant man, a Harvard graduate, Dr. Carter G. Woodson. He said, if you can determine what a man shall think, you never have to concern yourself with what he will do. If you can make a man feel inferior, you never have to compel him to seek an inferior status, for he will seek it himself. And if you can make a man feel justly an outcast, never have to order him to go to the back door. He'll go without being told. And if there's no door, his very nature will demand one. See, we live in a world where we're told more about our limitations rather than our potential. How many of you have ever been told that you couldn't do something? Raise your hands, please. You know, MIT did a study that if I say to you, you can't do that, that 16 people have to come along and say, you can do that, you can do that, you can do that, to neutralize that, and the 17th statement that you hear, you can do it, will be the one that will finally stick. So you have to watch who's speaking into you. You've got to begin to monitor your mind. And you've got to begin to literally be proactive in programming yourself to success. Be ye not conformed to this world. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. You've got to take responsibility to make that happen. And as you begin to do that, you'll begin to see some incredible changes in your life. I understand now when Earl Nightingale said, all of us are self-made, but only the successful will admit it. As you begin to look at your dreams and look at your goals, write this down. Know you're a vitamin. See, most people stop short of their dreams and park and get off the highway of life because of the rejections of life. You will always be a rejecter. It's no big deal. Jack Canfield said rejection is a myth. It's not like when somebody says no and then they slap you. No, it's just, to me, know you're a vitamin. Get excited about the no. Why? Because every time someone says no, that brings you another step to a yes. You're getting closer. Trust me, you will win if you don't quit. You will win if you don't quit. Even a broke clock is right twice a day. The other thing is, as you look at yourself and look at your goals and look at your dreams, assess yourself. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What do you bring to the table? When I looked at becoming a motivational speaker, I looked at all the speakers and I noticed that they were pretty much scripted. So I said, what is it that can make me stand out? I don't have any college education. I don't have any credentials. I never worked for a major corporation. What is it I can do to offset my weaknesses? And then something said, well, Les, and this is very important. Mr. Washington, Mr. Brown, yes, sir. What do you want to do with your life? I want to become successful. Good. He said, you must be willing to do the things today others won't do in order to have the things tomorrow others won't have. That's why you said you have something special. See, very few people go to seminars and workshops. They'll go to a concert, but showing up to get something that can expand their minds and help them to begin to see their lives differently, to give them a larger vision of themselves, they'll be too busy. Or they say, well, how much does it cost? Well, information costs, but it pays for itself. Here's the other thing is, ladies and gentlemen, let's say it's me. Yeah, see, it's possible you can live your dream. It's necessary that you have the mindset that I'm going to do this. But you've got to take ownership. You've got to decide, hey, I'm going to do this. You've got to take responsibility for your life. George Bernard Shaw said the people that make it in this life, they look around for the circumstances that they want, and if they can't find them, they create them. You've got to decide, it's me. You've got to say, and say this with conviction, I expect to win. Yes, I think it's important that we say that. If you ask most people, do you want to become successful? They will say yes. Took my oldest son for a walk, my namesake. We always expect our children to do far more than what we do. Said, Calvin, he wants his own identity. He's Leslie Calvin Brown, Jr. I stopped him, looked him in the eyes, and said, do you want to be successful, son? He said, yes, sir, Dad. Very good. Let's walk, son. Walk further. Stopped him again. I I said, Calvin, look me in the eye, son. Yes, sir, Dad. Do you expect to be successful, son? And he stood there and he looked at me and his eyes got glassy. And he said, let's walk. And the reason that he said, let's walk, because my son is very bright. Of all my children, he's perhaps the smartest one. But Calvin now, over 30, Calvin now, a single parent of 2 daughters, good father. Calvin, now at this stage of his life, he's behind on his dreams. A lot of talent, a lot of abilities. Very conservative. One of those people, great mind, but he just hasn't developed that, things that we want our kids to have, that, I want it. Calvin, you got to kick it up a notch, son. You never thought you'd be in your 30s. You got to kick it up a notch. You got to increase your energy in order to live your dreams. You can't be casual about your dreams. Bill Bailey said, if you're casual about your dream, you'll end up a casualty. Shake someone's hand on your right and left and say, kick it up a notch. Yes. You got to kick it up a notch. What is it you bring? And whatever you bring, you've got to kick it up a notch. What is your signature as you look at where you want to go and what it is you want to do? As you look at your product or your services, repeat out to me, please, provide more service than you get paid for. Yeah, see, that becomes your signature. When you look at your goals and look at where you want to go, at your products, at your services, at your industry, you want to set some high standards for yourself. I like what Henry David Thoreau said, do not go where the path may lead, but go where there's no path and leave a trail. How is it that your industry will be done differently 5 years from now, 10 years from now? What is your reputation in your industry? When you come into a room and you leave, what's the scuttlebutt about you? Do people say, hey, that's a go-to person. That's a person, if you ask them to do that job, you're talking about the job being done. It will be done extremely well. Are you known for that person that stand out with what you do, that stand out with your quality of service, with your standards, always looking for ways to better your best? Are you one of those people that believe, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it? Japanese believe it ain't perfect, keep working on it. Are you willing to keep working on it? Are you willing to realize that you have not done your best stuff yet, that you can better your best? You've got to take responsibility for that. And now let's go to the next level. Not only is it possible that you can live your dream, is it necessary that you call forth your team and surround yourself with people that you can learn from and grow from, that you must work on yourself and monitor yourself and train yourself, that you've got to begin to take total responsibility for the outcomes that you want to produce in your life. But let us say together with power and conviction, it's hard. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, living a dream, changing your life, is hard. It's hard. When you lose all your money, when you've given it the best that you have, when you have some major setback, it's hard. When a doctor looked at me and said the 3 horrible words no one wants to hear, you have cancer. It was hard to mobilize my mind and spirit, to listen to tapes and music and read scripture and be around other people and seeking out other prostate cancer conquerors to believe that I could do this. It was hard. Never forget, my son said, Daddy, are you going to die? Why are you asking me that? You're not going out much. You're not the bubbly personality that I know you to be. You're not talking much. You're spending a lot of time in the room by yourself, Dad. Are you going to surrender? Are you giving up? Are you going to let that doctor's opinion become your reality? Will my daddy see me graduate? Yes, son, yes. I'm going to fight. No, I don't think it's my time yet. I'm going to see you graduate, but more than that, I've got some other things that I'm going to do with my life. And I thank you for asking me that. But I must tell you that I'm scared. I'm scared. And I've never been in this situation before. It's been easy for me to talk to people and encourage people when they've had challenges in their lives. But it's me. And I don't feel less than a man in admitting this to you. Yes, I'm scared. And I need some help. Repeat after me, please. Ask for help. Not because you're weak, but because you want to remain strong. And ask for help. And don't stop until you get it. Yes, see, life is hard. And there are some moments in life when you're going to need some help. You're going to need somebody to speak to you. You're going to need somebody to say something to you. I have a friend of mine, Willie Jolly, who's a motivational speaker. He said, a setback is a setup for a comeback. I had to listen to Willie's tapes. I have another friend, Kevin Brace, who's a speaker. He said, Les, come on, man, you can do this. You can make this happen. You can hit a home run. It's a done deal. You are Les Brown. That cancer's got to get out of your body. I said, talk to me, Kevin. Talk to me. That's what I need to hear. I needed to hear those words. I don't care who you are. Many people won't allow themselves to ask for help because of pride. Pride cometh before a fall. Because of ego. Ego means edging God out. No, ask for help. Not because you're weak, but because you want to remain strong. And ask for help and don't stop until you get it. I'm here because a lot of people helped me. I'm here because a lot of people believed in me at a time when I was struggling to believe in myself. The other thing is, let us say together, it's worth it. Yeah, see, I think, and write this down, you got to find 5 reasons that will make it worth it for you. 5 reasons. What will make it worth it for you? Mine was, I want to take care of my mother. Mine was, I want to do something with my life. What will make it worth it for you? Mine is, I want to leave a legacy. Mine is, I refuse to die an unlived life. What will make it worth it for you? Repeat after me, please. You got to be hungry. Mr. Washington said, Mr. Brown, what do you want to do with your life? I said, sir, I want to become a disc jockey. Is that right? Yes, sir. Good. Mr. Brown, you got to be hungry. He said, I want you to listen to Paul Harvey. He's the world's greatest communicator. Always find a coach or mentor, someone that's doing what it is you want to do. Watch them. Listen to how he does the rest of the story. Listen to his voice, Mr. Brown. Develop your mind and develop your communication skills, because once you open your mouth, young man, you tell the world who you are. And don't forget, Mr. Brown, you got to be hungry. Take the time to develop yourself. So I started training and working on myself. And then pretty soon I came to him. I said, sir, I've been working on myself. I've done the things that you told me to do. I listen to Earl Nightingale all the time and Zig, and I've been reading Dr. Norman Vincent Peale's book, and I'm ready. I practice every day 2 and 3 hours, sir. Is that right? Yes, sir. Very good, Mr. Brown. You got to be hungry. I said, why do you continue to say that? So people that are hungry are unstoppable, Mr. Brown. People that are hungry, no excuse is acceptable. Go out and face the music, young man. And don't forget, stay hungry. And make know your vitamin. I went to apply for a job on Miami Beach. Milton Butterball Smith was the program director. Hello, Mr. Butterball. How are you, sir? My name is Les Brown, sir. I like to be a disc jockey. He said, young man, you have any journalism in your background? No, sir, I don't. You have any experience in broadcasting? No, sir, I don't. He said, I'm sorry, we don't have any job for you. I went back and I told Mr. Washington. I was devastated. I said, Mr. Washington. They said, no, they wouldn't even allow me to audition for them, sir. Mr. Brown, don't take it personally. I told you, know your vitamin. Most people are so negative, they have to say no 7 times before they say yes. Be unstoppable, Mr. Brown. You got to be hungry. Go back again. Yes, sir. Hello, Mr. Butterball. How are you, sir? My name is Les Brown, sir. I like to be a disc jockey. Young man, weren't you here yesterday? Yes, sir, I was. Didn't I tell you no yesterday? Yes, sir, you did. Then why are you back today? Well, sir, I didn't know whether or not somebody was laid off or somebody was fired, sir. Nobody was laid off or fired. Now get on out of here. I came back the next day. Hello, Mr. Butterball. How are you, sir? My name is Les Brown, sir. I like to be a disc jockey. I know what your name is. Weren't you here the last 2 days? Yes, sir, I was. Didn't I tell you no the last 2 days? Yes, sir, you did. Then why are you back today? Well, sir, I didn't know whether or not someone got sick because someone died, sir. No one got sick or died. No one was laid off or fired. Now, don't you come back here again. I came back the next day talking loud, looking happy like I see you for the first time. Hello, Mr. Butterball. How are you? He looked at me with rage. He said, go get me some coffee. I said, yes, sir. So I became the errand boy for the disc jockeys. I'd go get their lunch and their dinner, and I'd stand in the control room, memorizing their hand movements on the control board and all the instruments, learning everything that I could because I expected to be behind that microphone. Then one day, it was a Saturday afternoon, and a disc jockey by the name of Rockin' Roger was drinking while he was on the air. Rockin' Roger got so drunk he started slurring his words. He was about to fall off the chair. He obviously could not complete his program. And there I was, looking at him through the control room window. A Saturday afternoon, I was the only one there, young, ready, and hungry, walking back and forth saying, drink, rock, drink. Drink, rock. I'd have gone and get him some more if he'd asked me to. Then pretty soon the phone rang. It was the general manager, and I answered the phone. I said, hello? He said, young boy, this is Mr. Klein. I said, I know. He said, Rock can't finish his program. I said, I know. He said, would you call one of the other DJs in? I said, yes, sir. I hung the phone up. I said, you must think I'm crazy. I called my mom and my girlfriend, Cassandra, and said, y'all come out on the front porch and turn up the radio. I'm about to come on air. I waited for about 20 minutes, and I called him back. I said, Mr. Klein, I can't find nobody. He said, young boy, you know how to work the controls? I said, yes, sir. He said, go in there and segue the records, but don't say nothing here. I said, yes, sir. I couldn't wait to get old Rock out of the way. I put on a fast record. I said, look out, this is me, LB, Triple P, Les Brown, your platter playing Papa. There were none before me, and there will be none after me. Therefore, that makes me the one and only. Young and single and love to mingle, certified, bona fide, doubly qualified to bring you satisfaction and a whole lot of action. Look out, baby, I'm your love man. I was hungry. The people that want to step into their greatness are hungry. Shake someone's hand on your right and left and say, you got to be hungry. What is your legacy? What will your statement be? Resolve every day. Read it every day. I refuse to die an unlived life. I like to leave this with you that Mama used to love to hear me say. She'd say, boy, say that thing for me, and I dedicate this to you, to the greatness that's within you, because it's there. And it says simply this: if you want a thing bad enough to go out and fight for it, to work day and night for it, to give up your time, your peace, and sleep for it. If all that you dream and scheme is about it, and life seems useless and worthless without it, and if you gladly sweat for it and fret for it and plan for it, and lose all your terror of the opposition for it, and if you simply go after that thing that you want with all of your capacity, strength and sagacity, faith, hope, and confidence, and stern pertinacity, if neither cold poverty, famine, shall sickness or pain of body and brain can keep you away from the thing that you want, if dogged and grim you besiege and beset it, with the help of God you'll get it. This has been Mrs. Mamie Brown's baby boy. God bless you and God bless America. You have greatness in you.
We hope you've enjoyed this special presentation of Les Brown's Step Into Your Greatness. If you would like to own a copy of this program or any of Better Life Media's programs, please visit our website at betterlifemedia.com, where you'll find all types of valuable life improvement information.
Hello everybody, this is Erik Worre, and welcome to NetworkMarketingPro.com. I am here. I walk into the hotel here in Anaheim, California, and who do I see? My old friend, superstar, amazing personal development guru, one of the best speakers in the world, Mr. Les Brown.
Yes.
And
Thank you. And he's that old friend after I took all the time to use mascara to cover my gray hair. I can't believe this guy.
Great to see you.
It's great to see you.
We commandeered the little lounge up on the 14th floor, and
Yeah.
we set this up. And I asked Les if he'd be willing to share with the Network Marketing Pro audience some of the great wisdom that he has. And he's been really an ambassador for network marketing for a long time, even though you're really a professional speaker, coach, trainer. You teach people how to speak, how to communicate, all those different things. So he has a lot of value that he can bring. So, Les, everybody that watches this program, they want to become professionals. They want to develop the skills necessary in order to be able to succeed. And over the years, what are the common attributes that you see of people who are the superstars, that are the professionals, that are the rock stars?
The common theme that I've seen, those individuals that can tell their story and create value for the audience, and as a result of people being in the experience of that setting, they leave there feeling better about themselves, believing in their product, believing in the industry, and believing in the possibility that they can grow their business. And that's crucial.
And when you say story, it's not just in front of an audience. It might be just to another person.
101, small groups, on the telephone, because your product, there's a story behind it. Why you became involved in the business, there's a story behind it. You look at the Dexter Yeagers, the Sharon Sharifs, all of them had a story that they told that other people bought into. When you are presenting to any type of person, one individual, small group, or large group, 3 questions going on in their head. Who are you? What do you have? And why should I care? And so if you don't answer those 3 questions, people will listen, they'll be polite, and then they'll walk away. The other underlying...
So say those 3 again.
Yeah. Who are you? What do you have?
Right.
And why should I care? So you have to strategically tell your story to create an experience for the person. And it's very important, experience, Eric, because a lot of people who become involved in network marketing, they spend a lot of time giving out a lot of information.
Facts.
Yeah, facts. No. People, when they are listening to you, 2 questions going on in their head. Can I do it? And is it worth it? Okay? So you have to create an experience where that person will say, I can do this, and it's worth my doing this.
So it's an interesting, I love words. I love kind of figuring that out. And you, on purpose, said the word experience.
Yes.
Why is it? Because I've never heard somebody say it that way.
Because if information can change people, everybody will be skinny, rich, and happy. Okay? So it's not about the information. In order to you're talking to a person who's a 9-to-5 person, and you want them to transform their lives. You want them to go from 9 to 5 to working from 5 until they faint.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Okay. So that's a whole different kind of person. They must be willing to die to who they are now to give birth to who they must become in order to be successful in this business.
Wow.
So you've got to create an experience for them where they feel motivated. There's no saying you can take a horse to the water, but you can't make it drink. However, if you strategically tell your story and create an experience for that person, you can create a thirst where they want to drink, where they want to be a part of this, where they share the vision, where they say, you know what, sign me up. I want to be a part of this. Because you're creating a community of achievers. And in order to create that community of achievers, to increase your recruitment and to be able to retain your people that you bring into the business so it's not a swinging door, you've got to be able to tell that story again and again and again. Each time it's got to be fresh. Each time when people leave your presence, they must leave there feeling better about themselves, but talking about you and the role that you're playing in their lives and how you're transforming them.
So the story creates the experience?
Yes, and how you strategically tell the story. Just keep in mind, the most powerful position in the world, presidency of the United States, boiled down to 2 stories. An honorable man, Vietnam veteran, 5-year prisoner of war, John McCain. The Southside community activist, raised in a single-family household, President Barack Obama. How they told their stories, the influence and the impact determined how much money came in, how many votes that were cast. So people, as an entrepreneur, we've got to be able to tell our story strategically, not just telling a story, because everybody's got a story. But you've got to tell that story in a way that people see themselves in the story. I'm known for you got to be hungry.
Well, and let's talk about that. You know what I mean? Because I've known Les for a lot of years, and I've seen you speak, and we've been part of events together. And one of the stories that has been a centerpiece of your life is that you got to be hungry. And I do believe that network marketing professionals need to be hungry, and some of them don't have the hunger that they need to have. And through telling that story, and I've seen you tell that story 100 times
yes,
probably.
Yes.
And you know what? Every time it still gets me because you've been a professional at how you've done it.
And I make the story the audience's story. When I tell the story about going back to the radio station.
Well, let's just tell it. Do you mind?
Well, yeah, I'm going to tell it and coach them on how to tell
Good,
this story.
good.
Yeah.
Well, maybe if we tell the story and then we can come back and say, okay, because a lot of people out here is thinking, he's got a story. He's got a story.
How to do it like that.
I know.
God,
well, he has a lot of people are thinking,
yes.
Les has a story, but I don't have a story. My life is boring. My life is not interesting. My life is not special. It's not dramatic.
Have you heard of Marianne Williamson?
Yeah.
What's her story? She doesn't have a story. Marianne Williamson wrote a book about a book. She wrote a book called Return to Love. Return to Love was about a book called A Course in Miracles. Yeah. Okay? So you don't have to have a story. You can tell somebody else's story. For instance, I met a young man, and he decided to become involved in multi-level marketing. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to think about your goals and think about your dreams. And let me share something with you. How many of you know there's no such thing as job security? Well, keep in mind, this young man became in multi-level marketing, and I asked him, what's your story? He said he went to apply for a job. They told him if he would double the production, he could become the top manager at this company and would have job security, and he would be able to get a bonus. Not only did he double the production, he quadrupled the production. Guess what they did? As a result of the explosion in the business that they were able to acquire, they had to move to another facility, and they fired him. They said because of the new facility, they had to pay more money for the lease on the facility, and they couldn't afford his services anymore. Now, here's what the truth is. They'd figured out how to do what he came in there and did. They no longer needed him. So the reason he's became a part of multi-level marketing is he knows that the 40-40 plan is gone, where you can work 40 hours a week for 40 years and retire. There's no such thing as job security. Today, you have to have something that you can call your own. And so in multi-level marketing, you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. You have an opportunity. You have a shot. Everybody won't get rich, but you've got a shot to control your own financial future. And that story by that young man is a story that's being lived every day.
Now, see, in 2 minutes, you told somebody else's story
Yes.
to this audience and gave them a perfect example.
Right, because the best speakers make the fewest words go the farthest.
Yeah.
So you don't have to tell a story all day. And so I tell people, how many of you know, as you look at yourselves, how many of you know there's no such thing as job security? And I will raise my hand. The reason I'm doing that is that I want them to now make this man's story their story. So they'll raise their hands. You're right. Good. Here's what happened to them. What they're saying to themselves, either that has happened to me or I know someone that has happened to me.
Especially in today's economy.
Right. Now I'm transitioning from there to here's why he became a part of this. He wanted to create security for himself. And I'm saying everybody's not going to be rich. That answers what they think. Can I get rich in this? No. People work on jobs for 40 years and don't get rich, yet and still they come into this business and they want to get rich in 6 months. It's not that kind of party.
Right.
You've got to work. You've got to build a foundation. You've got to learn the products. You've got to learn the marketplace. You've got to develop your personality. You've got to develop your people skills. It takes patience and perseverance and persistence to build this business. But ultimately, as they say, in the beginning, you'll do a lot of things you don't get paid for, but as you continue to grow, you'll get paid for a lot of things that you don't do.
Right.
That's the exciting things about multi-level marketing. It allows you to build something that you can call your own.
A lot of people are wishing right now that they had Les Brown in their pocket. They could carry him around when they went and talked to their prospects, and they could look him in the eye and tell him that. Talk about how these people can develop their story, or let them know, because I know that there's a lot of people here, and we have probably 50 different countries around the world that watch this, and a lot of them aren't aware of you yet.
Yes.
But they need to be, right? They need to know about your products and services and coaching and all that stuff, and we'll talk about that. Your story, what was the defining moment, that turning point for you that set your life on a different course?
Well, what set my life on a different course was when my mother became ill. Because I was a state legislator in Columbus, Ohio. I'm adopted. I was born in a poor section of Miami, Florida called Liberty City, an abandoned building on a floor with a twin brother. I'm telling you my story. And when we were 6 weeks of age, we were adopted by Mrs. Mamie Brown. I feel like Abraham Lincoln, who said, all that I am and all that I ever hope to be, I owe to my mother. My mother was a domestic worker on Miami Beach. She cooked for families. We ate the food left over from the families that she cooked for. we wore the hand-me-down clothes of the children that Mama kept. And so as a child and goal, a turning point in my life was seeing my mother work so hard. I said, Eric, when I become a man, I want to take care of my mother. I want to ask you, is there someone that you want to take care of? Is there someone that you'd like to do something special for? I want you to think about that person right now. Now, what I've done by doing that, I have segued from my story. I have now brought them into the story, and I asked them, is there someone you want to do something special for? They're saying yes. Now, that is called an imaginative leap. They leap from my story into their own story and say, yes, I know somebody. I like to do something for my coach or for my minister or for my mother or for my father or an aunt that raised me, okay? So now they're in the story. Now I will tell them how I went about doing that. So they have an interest. Who are you? What do you have? I have a story on how I bought my mother a home. And why should I care? The reason you should care is that I've been very successful at doing something that you can do too. And I'm going to show you how to do it. So now you create a committed listening in the telling of the story. Or I can say, recently I went to a seminar. A young lady by the name of Pauline Ahi. She came to the seminar. Pauline flew from Hawaii to Los Angeles. I was very inspired as I watched her. And the reason I was inspired, here we were in a room of entrepreneurs, and the person standing in front of the room, Dr. Julie Van Putten, as she was speaking and talking about discovering your power voice, ever so often Pauline would lean forward, and she'd pick up a pen with her mouth, and she would write with her mouth. Pauline came from Hawaii. Pauline has no arms. Pauline has no legs. She writes with her mouth. Here's a person who decided to become an entrepreneur, who decided to build a business in multi-level marketing. And with no arms and no legs, she's building an organization. And one of the things that really got me, when Dr. Julie Van Putten interviewed Pauline, she asked her, tell me one major obstacle you had in your life. Tell me something that you can think of. And Pauline looked, and she thought, and she said, I can't think of anything. And that grabbed me, because I could have given her a whole lot of things, a list of obstacles. And that showed me that Elsie Robinson was right when he said things may happen around you and things may happen to you, but the only things that really count are the things that happen in you. Even though she was born with no arms and no legs, what has happened in her that she sees herself as an empowered person. She has not decided to become a part of a job, the journey of the broke. She decided to control her own destiny by being involved in multi-level marketing. And what I said as I looked at her, if Pauline can do it, I know I can do it. And I know you can do it. Okay. So there's a
How many more you got? Keep going.
Yeah. So those examples, I mean, Mike Jones out of Philadelphia. I met him. Mike was earning $500 a month on Social Security. He now earns over $35,000 a month, and he does a seminar called How to Earn Over $200,000 a Year with Your Eyes Closed. He's been blind since he was 10. Okay, so all of these examples of what we see, other people's lives, we can use that as a platform.
So whether it's your story or somebody else's story, that's the example that you're giving.
Yes, and people say,
I don't have success yet.
Yes.
They're just getting started. I haven't had success. I've been involved for 6 months. I haven't had success. But I can tell this other story, and I can say that's why I'm doing this.
Yeah. Dexter Yeager, who was a beer truck driver. Mm-hmm. And now 50% of Amway volume comes through his organization. Mm-hmm. Dexter was just an everyday guy who decided that he wanted to live a different life for himself and for his family. Mm-hmm. And so when we look at people who are the great performers in multi-level marketing, here's what I know that they have in common too. Not only are they great storytellers, but there was a deciding moment. And that moment when they said virtually, I've had it. I've had it. That's when people change. I used to live next door to a lady named Lillian, and Mr. Marvin, every Friday night he would get drunk and beat her. And I saw her years later and said, how's Mr. Marvin doing? She said, I left him. I said, why? She said, I'd had it. I'd had it with Marvin beating on me. That's when people leave jobs and they say, well, where are you going? Away from here. I've had it. You know, I was working on a job where they paid me just enough to keep me from quitting, and I worked just hard enough to keep from getting fired. So finally, I said, you know what? I've had it. Going where I'm celebrated rather than tolerated. I've had it living and playing small. Yeah. And so those kinds of examples and that kind of passion. People are not just looking for information. They're looking for personality and passion. They can get information on the internet. There are no secrets out here. You can just Google everything and find out what day the earth was made and the rock that broke Goliath's jaw. We can find everything right now. But personality and passion, that's what people want. That's what they buy into. Do you believe there's a difference between being in this business and this business being in you? That's what they feel. And the people that grow the large organizations, you can tell being in their presence that as much as they have chosen this, they were chosen for this kind of work. You've got to have a passion for people. You've got to believe in the product. You've got to believe in the industry. You've got to believe that you have it within yourself to become an entrepreneur, that it's possible that you can live your dream. That's why people say yes, that it's necessary, and that you are the driving force to make it happen, that it's you, that nobody can do it for you, nobody's going to care more about your dream than you, and that it's hard, that easy is not an option. That when you think about growing your organization, think it not strange that your family members and friends will say no. People who should be there to help you won't help you. In fact, they will discourage you. They will laugh at you. Oh, you're involved in some pyramid scheme. Here you go again. All of that's going to be a part of it. When you get on an airplane before they take off, they say fasten your seatbelt. Why? Because you're going to experience some turbulence before you reach a comfortable altitude. When you get involved in multi-level marketing, fasten your psychological seatbelts. Why? Because you're going to experience rejections and no and laughter and snickers from your family members and friends. Why? I don't know. That's just the way it is. It's possible you can live your dreams in spite of that. It's necessary for you to know that you're the one to make it happen, and that you become selective of people that you bring into the business. You don't want to convince people to do it, because person convinced against their will is of the same opinion still. You want people who want more, not people who need more. And that it's you. You've got to be the driving force, and it's hard, and it's worth it. Decide now. Write down 5 reasons on why you won't give up. 5 reasons when you're facing the rejections and the no's, when people don't show up at the parties, when people don't keep their word. 5 reasons why you will stick in the game. I have a saying, when life knocks you down, try to land on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up. Your reasons will help you get back up again. Nietzsche said, if you know the why for living, you can endure almost anyhow. So it's possible you can build an incredible organization, make a great living for yourself. And it's necessary. If you're casual about your dream, as Bill Bailey said, you will end up a casualty. And it's you, and it's hard, and it's worth it. And once you create that momentum, it's done. Stick a fork in it. It's done.
So it's possible.
Yes.
The second one?
Yes, and the reason it's possible, what's possible for one is possible for all. If anybody built an incredible organization, went across the stage, and got a check because of their work and their effort, then it's possible that everybody seated there as witnesses can do it.
Right.
And that it's necessary.
It's necessary is number 2.
Yeah, you got to have a game plan. You got to be willing to stick it out. You got to be willing to persist. Og Mandino said you've got to be willing to say, I will persist until I succeed. And, and the greatest salesman in the world. And you got to say to yourself your mantra, no matter how bad it is or how bad it gets, I'm going to make it. Because in the beginning, things look real good.
Right.
And then you have a dry spell. And
right.
then you start questioning yourself. And that's what over 85% of people do. And it's you. You got to take personal responsibility. You're going from being a volunteer victim of letting somebody tell you what time to be to work, how long your lunch break will be, what time to get off, how many days you can be sick out of the year, how many days you can go on vacation, you got to ask for permission. You're going from that position of powerlessness and being weak, because most people have developed an addiction to powerlessness. That's why the majority of people you ask to come into this business will say no. They have developed an addiction to powerlessness. When you work in somebody else's job, they are controlling your financial future. So you are different. You are not common. You are uncommon when you said yes to this dream.
Yeah, stop for a second. An addiction to powerlessness.
Yes.
I've never heard it said that way, and I think that's really interesting the way you say that, because we've been taught. We've been
groomed and taught to depend on a job, to look forward to a job. People looking for jobs in an economy where jobs are shrinking. We cannot produce enough jobs. The government cannot produce enough jobs to replace the jobs that are being eliminated through technology and cheap labor abroad. I can get a PhD in the Philippines for $500 a month. When I was a kid, I used to work in a bowling alley. They knocked the pins down, we jumped down, and we straightened the pins back up. Somebody invented a trade that put us out of business. I used to work on the elevator. What floor, please? And I would punch the elevator No, they don't need that now. When I was in school, my girlfriend said, I want to be an operator. When you made a long distance call, you call an operator placed a call. Now you call direct. So technology is changing things, replacing whole industries. When the last time you went to the store and bought some envelopes and a stamp and some stationery and a pen to write a letter? We don't do that now. We text, we email. That's an industry that's eroding. I went to a school, Bill Gates School in Philadelphia. They don't have paper, all computer, a paperless school. That's different. When I was a kid, we carried books to school. So this is the era the late Peter Drucker calls the era of the 3 C's: accelerated change, overwhelming complexity, and tremendous competition. What we have in multi-level marketing is cooperation and collaboration, people working together in a community of achievers to help everybody win. That's the exciting thing, that when I help you win, then I win also.
So back to story. Do you think story helps people realize that they have an addiction to helplessness? And,
absolutely. You have to
build a bridge to get them away from that
absolutely.
posture?
That's the purpose of the story, because what the story does is distract, dispute, and inspire. What you do, how people live their lives, is a result of the story they believe about themselves. If there are 500 people in an audience, there are 500 individual stories that's going on. So that's why it's important that we learn how to strategically create an experience with our story, so those 500 people will stop listening to their story. Through the course of your telling the story, they will back away from the possibility blindness to say, I can't sell, or I can't do this, or I'm not ready to learn something different and new and change the page in my life. You cause them to back away from the possibility blindness and inspire them to become, as Mother Teresa would say, to become a pencil in the hand of God and start writing a new chapter in their lives, because you've distracted them from their story, and you used the example of a Pauline Ahi or a Mike Jones or a Dexter Yeager to help them say, whoa, if he can do it, I can do it, because what's possible for one is possible for all. And now they're ready to start a new chapter with their lives.
Can you tell I'm a fan? I mean, I could just sit here all day and we could just talk, because, I mean, the way you talk is so... The average person wants to give facts. They want so much to, to prove to somebody else that they know something. So they're given facts and information. And through your stories and through the quotes that provide third-party validation, that lets them know it's not just your opinion. It's other smart people have had the same opinion in the past.
Yes.
It's so masterfully done, and I hope you're getting a lot of tips here. And I hope as we're done with this interview, we're not done now, but when we're done with it, then you start to practice your story.
That's
you start to tell your story to your dog and tell your story to your
and
kids.
get some coaching, because you can't see the picture when you're in the frame. You have to, this Les Brown that you now see, I didn't know he existed. I used to be a different person, but a guy named Mike Williams, he interrupted this story in my head. He said, Les, you can do more than be a disc jockey. What do you mean? I'm LB, Triple P, Les Brown, your platter playing puffer. There were none before me, there will be none after me. Therefore, that makes me the one and only. Young and single, love to mingle, certified, bonafide, duly qualified to bring you satisfaction, a whole lot of action. I had to kill them all. Bam, bam, bam. He said, Les, you can do more than be the MC at the Bottoms Up Club and the Pink Pussycat and the Jamaica Club. You can talk to corporations and organizations. I said, what would I talk to them about? I don't have any college training. He said, Les, all of us are born the same way, dumb, naked, and speechless. You can learn. Okay, and so because of how he communicated with me, he created a thirst. One of the things I say to people, particularly when you come into this business, if someone has recruited you into this business, they saw something in you. And one of the things I strongly believe, and why Mike is still my mentor to this day, Mike Williams, and that is that sometimes you have to believe in somebody's belief in you until your belief kicks in. So whoever invited you into this business, they saw something in you. And if you don't see it, it doesn't matter that you don't see it, because eye has not seen, ear has not heard, nor has entered the heart of mankind what God has in store for you if you say yes to your dream and yes to the opportunity that the multi-level marketing industry can afford you.
Can afford you.
Yes.
I love it. All right. I saw an interview with Will Smith a little while ago, and he said, greatness is simple. Here's what I believe, and I'm willing to die for it.
Yes.
When you talk about desire, you talk about hunger, you talk about
Yeah,
determination.
Are you willing to lose it all to gain it all?
You're just willing to just go out there and make it happen.
I believe that since greatness is possible, then being excellent is not enough.
Right.
That anybody through observation and practice can perform at the level of excellence. But when you see a Larry Bird who formerly played for the Boston Celtics, you don't say, boy, when the Bird played, he was an excellent player. We're talking about greatness here. Right. You see a Wayne Gretzky. And I believe that when you're pursuing your greatness, you don't know what the limits are. So you act like you don't have any, that you become intelligently ignorant. According to the laws of aerodynamics, as we know, a bumblebee isn't supposed to fly because his body is too large to be held up by the little puny wings. But the bumblebee doesn't know it. And what you will find in multi-level marketing, that you'll see people take quantum leaps in terms of their influence and their income. Why? Because being in a community of achievers, you discover some powers and abilities you have that you don't even realize. That L.C. Robinson was right, that things may happen around you and things may happen to you, but the only things that happen that really count are the things that happen in you. And part of being around other achievement-driven people, they'll push you to levels that you could never go by yourself. And that's why it's so very important that we do something that Jim Rohn said, and that is look at your relationships and you're building your organization. You want to develop greatness. The only way you can develop your greatness is you've got to be in relationship with people that will push you, that will stretch you, that hold you to a higher standard, that will hold you accountable. And you have to look at your relationship, and Jim said, ask the question, what is this relationship doing to me?
Right.
Am I growing mentally and emotionally and spiritually? Is it challenging me? Am I honoring my word as myself? Is this making me begin to look at myself and reflect on myself and raise the bar on myself? Einstein said that thinking that has brought me this far has created some problems this thinking can't solve. And part of developing your greatness is being around people who, as you run, you can run faster with 100 who want to go than with one around your neck. That they will challenge you to step it up to another level.
Right. Well, as we're running out of time, but we could talk all day,
Yes.
and we could tell some stories, and we could
Yes.
do some stuff, but that'll be for another time. But first of all, I'm going to put a link so people can find a way to contact you, find out about your products, your services, your coaching that you do on how to tell stories. So everybody, I encourage you to connect. And this will be seen by over 100,000 people all over the world. People are really hungry.
Right? Part of what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to train 1,000 voices of hope. We've produced a generation of problem staters. I wanted to produce 1,000 voices of hope. How people live their lives, as I said, is a result of the story they believe about themselves. Whatever you focus on the longest becomes the strongest. And I think that politicians and many of our leaders have become so cynical and divisive in their languaging style, and only pointing out what's wrong as opposed to looking at what's right about ourselves, about our communities, our country, and our youth, and begin to focus on the positive things and the possibilities and how we can transform the future and talk about solutions, because if you're not a part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And so with these 1,000 voices of hope, my goal is to reduce the recidivism rate in our prisons, to reduce the dropout rate. I work with young people, teaching them, number one, how to develop their minds, two, how to become effective communicators. You know, my son, John Leslie, my daughter, owner, they're motivational speakers. Three, how to dress like a prospect rather than a suspect. And four, the success strategies for making it in a global economy, which is multi-level marketing. And so I believe with these 1,000 voices of hope, as I teach them to become world-class communicators, they'll be able to change the planet and how people see themselves.
Well, please check that out. And I hope that the 1,000, most of them come from the Network Marketing Pro community. A lot of people, we talk about there's three things that you need to succeed in network marketing. You have to have a burning desire, you have to be willing to work, and you have to be coachable.
Yes.
And we talked about this in previous shows, and a lot of people were commenting, I just don't know how to find my burning desire. I don't know how to figure out, I can't light the fire. Help me light the fire. What would you say to that?
You have to experiment until you do. I mean, some people know early on. When I think about, you look at some of the people that we recognize for their greatness today. When you look at a Michael Jordan, who realized early on that basketball was his passion. A Liberace, when he was alive, he loved to play the piano, and he was very flashy, a flamboyant kind of guy. that you have to experiment with life. Life is about experimenting. The two most important moments in our lives is the day that we're born and the day that we realize why we were born.
Yeah.
That we were chosen for something. And so you have to experiment until you find it.
And I will tell you, a lot of people get the misinterpretation that network marketing has to be their passion. Network marketing can be their passion. It's my passion. But for most people, it's a tool to be able to buy the house for your mom. It's the tool to be able to contribute to the world or whatever.
To me, network marketing is a vehicle that allows you to develop the total you. There is no other, you cannot, when you're working on a job and you go in knowing what it is you have to do, knowing that if you are breaking your back and breaking a sweat working every day and the person next to you dragging their feet, you're still getting the same pay. The difference between that and network marketing, you have to develop your entrepreneurial skills, you have to learn to keep good records, you have to learn to manage yourself, you have to learn to manage your time, you have to learn to manage people, how to influence people, you have to learn how to plan, have an agenda for your life, because you know if you don't have an agenda for your life, you're part of somebody else's agenda. So it develops every dimension of who you are. Honest to God, Eric, had it not been for Best Line Products that I first heard Jim Rowland and under the leadership of Bill Bailey years ago during the days of Holiday Magic and Dare to Be Great with Glenn Turner, I wouldn't be who I am. All of those experiences, those conventions, those positive, motivated people who had dreams. People who had dreams, man. Question was asked, when does a man or woman die? And I said, they die when their dreams die. You know, when you don't have anything to look forward to. Kenny Rogers said, having someone to love, something to do, and something to look forward to will give you a long, fulfilling life. And so it helps you to develop every dimension of yourself. And that, to me, is the passion. The passion to live full and to die empty. The passion to find out what it is you're made of. The passion to get up the next day after facing rejection day in and day out, walking in the grocery store, going in the shopping mall, talking to people in the cleaners about an opportunity, and they say, no, I'm not interested, and continue to go from rejection and no's and snickers and laughter until you find that yes, until you find that eagle. And you're going to go through a lot of pigeons before you find them. And you build your character, you build your faith. And one day you look in the mirror and there's a different man looking back at you. There's a different woman looking back at you. There's a saying that I refuse to be a common man. It's my right to be uncommon if I can. I seek opportunity, not security. I do not wish to be a kept citizen, humbled and dull by having the state look after me. I want to take the calculated risk, to dream and to build, to fail and to succeed. I refuse to live from hand to mouth. I prefer the challenges of life to the guaranteed existence, the thrill of fulfillment to the still calm of utopia. I will never cower before any master nor bend to any threat. It's my heritage to stand erect, proud and unafraid, to face the world boldly and say, this I have done. That's what it means to be a multi-level marketer, an uncommon desire to control your destiny. I'm getting fired up. I'm getting excited. My medication ran off.
I will tell you, we're out of time, and we'll do this again, but a long time ago, you looked my son in the eye, backstage before an event, and you grabbed him by the side of his face, and you said, you know what, you've got greatness in you. And you know what, for everybody that's watching, his message that I hope you feel is that you've got greatness inside of you. You've got things, talents and skills that you haven't even reached for yet.
Yes.
You've got abilities and stories that are going to be amazing.
And can change the world.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, here from Dallas, Texas, my wish for all of you is that you decide to find your passion, that you decide to become a network marketing professional, that you develop your skills, you learn to tell stories, that you get the coaching and training and information that you need to be able to take it all the way to the top. Because you know what? You really do have greatness in you. It is a stone cold fact. You got something else to say? Say
yes, this has been Mrs. Mamie Brown's baby boy and Erik Worre's pride and joy.
It's a fact, ladies and gentlemen.